Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're out on Lake Chickamauga. It is late May, and this is the perfect time of the year to start finding those fish offshore on the ledges, the shell beds, high spots, whatever you want to call them. You know, those offshore spots that just produce a ton of fish. And Lake Chickamauga is known for its offshore fishing, but it's also known for the amount of pressure that this lake sees in a year's time. And so in recent years, it's been really hard to get a good like power fishing ledge bite going, you know, where you're throwing swim baits, big spoons, crankbaits, swim baits, all those things that I love throwing. And especially when you have low current, which we don't have a lot of current today. We've got about 11,000 cubic feet per second, and this bite is completely current based. So if they're not pulling current, sufficient current, like 35,000 plus, it's going to be a tough bite. And one of the best presentations for when the bite is tough has got to be a drop shot. I hate the drop shot. I've always hated the drop shot. But now I'm starting to soften up to it ever since I moved to the TVA, because I just catch a ton of fish out here on it, you know, especially last year. Last year was one of the toughest years on the ledges I've ever seen. I couldn't do any of the things that I traditionally love to do, but the drop shot was producing. So I just wanted to go ahead and show you guys how I like to fish a drop shot when I'm fishing offshore on these ledges. And this can be applied to pretty much any other type of fishery, whether it's current based or not current based. And the first thing we got to do is find a school of fish, which this is a pretty good spot. Let's see if we can find a school here, which I bet we're gonna run into one. All right, so here we are. Those shadows right there, all those little shadows, those are all fish over there too. So let's go ahead and get started, catch some fish on a drop shot. All right, guys, so the very first thing that you want to do once you've been able to you know, isolate a spot where you want to fish, where you see a school of fish, or it's just an area you want to fish through, is you want good boat positioning. So you don't want to be you know, right on top of the fish. I actually see some fish right here, so I'm a little bit of a bull in a china shop right now. And I want to be down current of where I'm casting. So I want where those fish to be around, you know, 70, 80 foot in front of the boat, maybe even 90 foot, depending on, you know, how far I can cast. Today we've got no wind or very little wind, so I can actually make a pretty long cast with a drop shot. But we're gonna get in position here, get down current, and then we're gonna go ahead and just put anchor mode on. And we actually, the little wind that we have is perfect because it's actually coming with the current, which does two things. It actually aids in the amount of current that we're gonna see, probably not by much today. And also it's gonna help us, you know, keep the stern of the boat, you know, down current, you know, so it's not going to be like one of those days where you got the boat going sideways and all that kind of stuff. That's never fun. All right, so we're going to line up, use our forward facing sonar to, you know, figure out the exact cast. All right, that looks pretty good right there. So we're just going to go ahead, make a cast. Okay, I see on the, oh man, we found them now. All right, so the cast has changed. We kind of moved these fish around a little bit. So they're like right over there. Let's go ahead and put anchor mode. And what I like to do is kind of pick out something on the shoreline that helps me, since it's on anchor mode and I'm not going to be using the forward facing sonar. Pick out something on shore, old school triangulate, so you can line up that cast without having to use the forward facing sonar every time. Oh, there's a bite right there. There we go. All right. Nice. This actually feels like a decent fish. Nothing big. Oh yeah, nice 2-pounder. All right, so as you guys saw, I was really just dragging it. I wasn't adding a lot of action to it. Just keep the rod tip up and drag that sucker. I'm gonna bring him back to you. Oh yeah, nice little fish. He's fat. He is fat. He's definitely been eaten up. Not quite 2 pounds. Most of the fish on this school are real tiny, so I'm not gonna expect too much as far as size goes, but they are a blast to catch. But that little Hayabusa hook, got him pegged. So put him back. Now we're figuring out the cast, which is really super important. After we untangle our long shots here, oh my gosh, what a mess. That's one of the things I always hated about a drop shot, was just how long it took to rig it, and how it gets all tangled and everything, but that's all right. All right, let's get back to it. Let's get right back to that same spot. All right, I'll come back with you guys. So yeah, that last fish, it was all about a nice slow retrieve. You know, just what I call counting shells. You know, you're primarily looking for those nice little hard spots, which are a lot of the times shell beds, you know, gravel bottoms, that sort of stuff, and just slowly drag it. And when you get in the real rough stuff, that's when you slow down a little bit. But really, just the action of the weight grinding on the bottom. Oh, that, I just missed one, but just the action of that weight, you know, grinding on those shells or that hard bottom, that is plenty to give that long shots action, because that long shots in particular, and every plastic is soft enough to get action as you're dragging it on the bottom, but that long shots, especially made of Elastec, it has a ton of action. And if you add, you know, action by shaking the rod tip, it may be a little bit too much, because this is supposed to be a subtle presentation. But just as that weight drags on the bottom, that is plenty of little quivering action with that worm. There's a fish. I actually had to work him. I had to shake that one a little bit. That feels like a better one. Nope. Just a strong little one. There we go. Once again, man, the pink and purple worm got him. There are literally hundreds of fish down there, but they're all about this size. I mean, you could just tell when I graphed over them that they're all pretty tiny, but they are fun to catch, man. So that one, you know, normally I'm dead sticking, but that one I actually shook it a little bit. I was kind of like, started feeling some shell down there, and just shook the rod tip in place. Sometimes that's what it takes. Gosh, there are a ton of fish down there. There are a ton of fish down there. I'll show you guys what I'm looking at. You can see all these little bumps right here. All those bumps on the bottom. Those are all bass. And the LVS 34 transducer, live scope transducer, I guess it's called Live Scope Plus, that is the deal, because that's the kind of target separation that you get with it. There's a fish. Oh, I love using those little Hayabusa exposed hooks. I love it. Oh, and you know what I also love? The fact that I'm not losing a worm every time this fish shakes. Look at that. A normal worm, when the fish shook like that, come on, do it again. Show everybody. All right, that was weak. That right there, you would lose that, a traditional plastic every single time. Look at that. No problem. I love Elastec. Another little one. That's all we're gonna catch on this spot, unfortunately, but drop shot can be a big fish bait. Big fish presentation, no doubt. Oh, there's a fish. Oh, he feels heavier. He's probably still a little dinker. Oh my goodness. Pull my drag, youngin'. Pull that drag. No way, could this be a bigger fish? Could this be a 2-pounder? It is. Not a 2-pounder. But he was fun to catch. Oh man, that is just too much fun. All right guys, so let's talk about the tackle that I'm using today. Let's break it down. So we're using spinning gear. I use spinning gear exclusively for finesse tactics such as a drop shot. And let's start with the line, because the line is really important. With all my spinning gear, I'm gonna be using braided main line. This is Seagar Smackdown. I used to use 20-pound test. In fact, this actually may still be 20-pound test. But lately I've started using 15-pound test, and I like it a lot more. I think it creates a lot less drag through the water and just gives you an overall better feel, longer casting distance, and it pairs better with the 8 and 10-pound test that I'm going to be using as far as the leader. So yeah, mainline, smackdown, flash green so I can see the bite a little bit better. And then I'm going to be using gold label fluorocarbon as my leader material. Okay, this stuff is awesome. I've talked about it a lot, but gold label is a line that is such a small diameter compared to other fluorocarbons that I can actually upsize my pound test while downsizing my actual line diameter, or at least keeping it the same. So I like to use 8 or 10-pound test, but usually out here on the TVA especially, I use 10-pound test. You know, it's not ultra clear. It's, you know, water right now has got a little bit of clarity to it, but it's not like going up and fishing for smallmouth up north. You know, I don't need that ultra light line, 6 or 8-pound test. So 10-pound test is usually what I reach for, and I'm usually going for like a 20-foot lead or something like that. What I do is I count out 4 arm lengths of gold label, and that's my leader material. The knot that I use to connect to the braided line is going to be a uni to uni knot. Just take care to cut the tag ends real close to the knot, just so you don't have, you know, those sticking out and creating an opportunity for wind knots to create all kinds of problems. And then the knot that I like to use with the drop shot itself is a polymer knot. I'm going to be using a polymer knot, and what I'm going to do, and I'll kind of show you, is I'll do the regular polymer knot. In fact, let's just go ahead and start from the very beginning. Might as well, right? We're here, might as well just be very thorough with how we do this. All right, so we're gonna get our drop shot hook. I like to use the DSR 132. You know, size 3, 2, 3 is a really good size for around here. I like to use these exposed hooks, these DSR 132s, when I'm fishing, you know, on pretty open, clean bottom, you know, shell bars like I'm doing right now. But if I'm fishing brush or fishing around stumps, you know, things that I can snag on, I'm going to be fishing the FPP straights, you know, one of the smaller ones like the 2-aught here. These are really good for Texas rigging your worm. So it's weedless essentially, but make sure you use the heavier pound test if you do use the straight shank hooks. So what we're gonna do here, and I'm sorry if the audio is getting a little bit windy. Let's see if I can actually turn you out of the wind a little bit. That might have made it worse, who knows. Essentially what we're gonna do, we're gonna take our DSR 132. We're going to insert the line through the top of the hook, the top of the eye of the hook, okay? If you do it the opposite direction, you're gonna have your bait pointed downwards, but we're trying to keep the hook point up. So then you're gonna pull out a lot of tag line, okay? Pull out extra than you think you would need, because you always end up with less than you think you should. We're gonna go through the eye again. We're just gonna do a regular Palmer, okay? And create that loop. There's better videos out there to teach you how to do a Palmer than this one for sure. But wet it, tighten it up, and this is the very important step, all right, for a drop shot, is I'm going to take that tag end, okay, and I'm gonna pass it through the top of the hook, the eye of the hook again. All right, and by doing so, when I do that, the hook point sticks up, okay? Every single time it'll stick up. The next thing I'm gonna do, you know, most of these drop shot weights, where did I put this funky banana weight? This one right here, I'm using this banana shaped drop shot weight. As you can see, like most drop shot weights, it's got a clip at the top, and that clip narrows down, pinches the line, so you don't lose it. What I like to do is ensure that I'm not losing all kinds of weights. I do a little overhand knot at the very end of the line, just like so, and then put my weight over that way, that knot kind of, you know, with the light line, I don't have any issues with it pulling off. But that's it right there. As far as leader length, really, you know, 15 inches is a fairly long leader for what I'm using it for. This, I think, is what, 12 inches, something like that. That's pretty standard for out here on the TVA. There's sometimes smallmouth fishing I might go longer, but honestly, I think sometimes we go too long with the drop shot. You really don't need to go crazy with it. But I like to use, as far as the weight goes, I'm impatient. I am not really into finesse fishing all that much, like truly finesse fishing. So you're not gonna see me throwing a 1/8 ounce weight like a lot of these guys that are really, really good with a drop shot. I like the heavier weight. So 3/16 is probably the lightest I'm gonna go. 1/4 ounce is about my favorite, but I've been known to go up to a 1/2 ounce, but primarily up north. But usually for drop shotting, you know, TVA, 1/4 ounce is pretty good. If the wind picks up, then you might need to go up to like a 3/8 ounce or something like that. I use all the different styles of weights. I like, you know, ball style weights, teardrop, these, you know, just don't overthink it. Just get a weight, get out there, go fish. The bait that we're using today is the Z-Man long shots. This is a pretty cool bait. This color right here is definitely a favorite out here. Another version of this is called Morning Dawn. That is a very well-known color. It's essentially pink, purple. This is a really, really good color, and I don't know why. It doesn't imitate anything that they see down there, but maybe it just triggers something, you know, primal in those fish, and it makes them go crazy. But that is a really, really good color on the TVA. This is the #1 fish catcher, I would venture to say, as far as colors that you could use on a drop shot. And so it's between that and something that has a little bit more purple in it. You know, Meat Dog is a really good one out here as well. But I'm usually reaching for that. And if they're not eating that, they're probably not going to eat anything. But what I like to do is I like to nose hook like that. So with other worms that have, you know, other worms that aren't made of Elastec, they might have an issue with them, you know, actually staying horizontal like this. So what I'll end up doing for them is I take the bait, the worm, and I hook through underneath the chin and come out through the nose like that. That kind of helps it stand a little bit more horizontal. But you know, because the long shots is Elastec, it's very buoyant, and it does stay horizontal like that very, very well under the water. But as far as the rod and reel goes, I use a 7.2 medium heavy Versa, assuming that I'm you know, going up to the 10-pound test range with the gold label. I like this for my TVA drop shot fishing. When I go up north, I use a medium, but a 7.2 medium heavy Versa series is what I like to use down here for my what I call, power fishing with a drop shot. It's not really a power shot because that's a totally different, rigging style. But and then I use this S4000 spinning reel. But that is it. Another cool thing that I found is this clip. Okay, I got these at a tackle shop recently. They just clip on the back there, and you can slide your weight just like this. Because I struggle, man. I get on the struggle bus when it comes to a drop shot and like storing it, but this clip actually works really good. I've tried a lot of different things. I've had one that has like rubber bands that go around, but the rubber bands break and they're harder to put on there. This is actually just really easy. So I'll take them off, keep them in a storage container, or keep them on the rods, either way. But that is the setup for drop shotting. But a drop shot, man, is just so much fun to catch fish on the TVA offshore fishing. And I keep saying TVA, but really anywhere you're fishing offshore and the bite is tough, this can really turn on that bite and make for a really fun fishing day. So anyways, guys, let me know what you think of the content in the comment section below. If you have any questions, drop those comments below, and make sure you like, share, subscribe. I really appreciate you guys very much. Thank you for coming out on the lake with me. Make sure you trust the process, and I'm gonna see you out on the water. Take care.